This is dark matter caught by surprise. Study it very closely. You won't believe your eyes.
The answer is because we don't know. When I was a student, it was fashionable to suppose, which was many decades ago, fashionable to suppose that this process was so incredibly improbable that it would have happened only once in the universe, and we're it. Today, you can scarcely open a newspaper without seeing a distinguished scientist saying the universe is teeming with life. The transition from non-life to life is very easy, very straightforward. Well, in the intervening decades, we know we've discovered almost nothing more. So this is...
which reminds me of when I was in school, there would be this, and they always used a British accent, they would say, the title was millions and billions of years ago, lightning probably struck, then light emerged, and it all sounded very convincing. But it's malarkey, it's crap. Yeah.
Right, we have no idea. And so the media give this very exaggerated notion that we're on the verge of discovering how non-life turned into life. We're very, very far from doing that. If you try and cook up life in the lab, you can make the first fundamental building blocks, but that's dead easy. There's no mystery about that.
Or you can do what Craig Venter does, basically make life from other life.
Right, you start at the other end, and he's already taking incredibly complex things. The problem is that even the simplest thing that we know, the simplest bacterium, is already so stupendously complex compared to this gunk that you can make in the lab, that bridging the two is completely unknown. Now, it could well be that there are sequences of events that actually are very probable. We just don't know what they are. Or it could be that it requires a sequence of chemical reactions or physical circumstances which are just so rare will have happened only once in the universe. We actually don't know whether it was something very likely or very unlikely. I just got this hunch, well, it's a crazy theory, that maybe quantum mechanics played a role here, and I'll tell you what it is in a nutshell. That people think that life is about replicating things like molecules. You've got to make a copy of the molecule. It's the stuff that's got to be copied. But we understand that really life is more about information processing. Just have to copy the information. So if I take a file on a memory stick and put the memory stick in the computer and download the file, the computer doesn't make a copy of the memory stick, it just makes a copy of the pattern. It's just the information that gets copied. All you need to do biology is copy information. Information with variation and selection. So if we can find a system, it doesn't even have to be chemical, but copies information with slight variations, and there's a selection mechanism, the whole life game can begin. And that could be something as exotic as an interstellar grain spinning in a magnetic field. It might not even be chemical. So it's a really wild idea. But the point about quantum mechanics is that it's incredibly rapid, that things can happen quantum mechanically on femtosecond, picosecond timescales. Whereas great clunky molecules, I was talking earlier about 100 base pairs a second, that's incredibly slow. So life as we know it now is certainly not the most efficient and rapid means of copying information. So if we can find any system anywhere in the universe can copy information with variation and selection, we can begin to play the life game. And maybe organic life as we know it is some derived later secondary thing.
Thorsten Ritz?
Crazy.
Well, it's really tricky to answer the question if you don't really know what life is to start with, right? I mean, if you ask the question, how do you answer it? You have your old textbook answer, something that reproduces, that metabolizes, and so forth. Now maybe we're a bit more specific and say something that has these 300 amino acids, but these are just, descriptive definitions. We don't know what the difference is, and that makes it extremely challenging to answer any of these questions. So the what is life, I think it's fascinating for me as a physicist who moved into biology, that in physics you know what the big questions are. They've been around for a long time. In biology you ask these fundamental big questions, the first defining questions. Usually the answer is we don't know. We're still working on finding that out. We may quantum mechanically, we may not understand it fully, but we can describe it quantitatively very well. In terms of biology, we really, that's a fascinating thing. You just ask what it is, and the answer is we don't know.
And all these photos were taken in the middle of the
We
desert,
use our
in the
understanding
pitch
of
black,
quantum mechanics as a way
using a
of
high-resolution
thinking about,
camera
at least, the emergence of
with a
consciousness.
high, bright,
mentioned the
fast
C word.
flash, taken straight up
So,
in the
It's
air,
all about it.
look, I just want to give a warning here. Look,
with
this
nothing
is,
else to
the
light
quantum
up
mechanics is
but
strange
what
and
was in the air,
mysterious, right?
and highly
The origins
magnified.
of life are strange and mysterious. Consciousness is strange and mysterious, and Donald Trump's hair is strange and mysterious, right? That doesn't mean that they're all the same thing, or
Right.
strange and mysterious.
And I'd
in the
like to
same
thank
way. So
Roger
I want you to
Spur
be careful about, saying that all strange and mysterious things have the same origin. However, there is one place
For his
where we really do know
theory
what
of
we say we
electron
don't know.
flooding.
We do know that quantum mechanics plays a very important role.
Roger, I hope this
in developing
helps
life,
confirm
and that is in the
your
introduction
theory
of
even more.
variation. Because as Paul was saying, life, you can say proto-life is something that can reproduce itself, the information, with some kind of variation. Now, classical mechanics doesn't give you any mechanism for introducing variation. It's completely deterministic. Quantum mechanics, on the other hand, is probabilistic and can inject all kinds of information into the universe. In fact, the only explanation we have for why the universe is so varied and interesting, given that it came from an initial state, as Paul knows because I read this in his book about quantum mechanics on curved spacetime when I was a graduate student, the universe started out incredibly uniform, the quantum state was incredibly uniform, the laws of physics are simple. If that were a classical universe, it would have stayed simple. But because quantum mechanics is constantly injecting all kinds of, little fluctuations that become the seeds for galaxies, for the formation of galaxies, or for that matter, little mutations which become the seeds for cancer when an ultraviolet photon comes in and zaps one of your cells. This variation is being introduced by quantum mechanics. So one place where we know that quantum mechanics plays a key role, not just in the origins of life, but in the universe as a whole, is giving us this information and variation we see around us. And thank God for that, I say.
So enough predictability to sustain a process, the replication ability to sort of move it forward generation by generation, but the variation element, the indeterministic variation element, to keep things interesting. Those are the essential components of life itself, of consciousness itself. They are the unity of all the weird and wonderful things that go with all that is secure and stable about life. Guys, it's been a great conversation. Thanks so much to Paul Davies.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment and please share.
And I suspect we will be doing quantum biology in 10 years at the World Science Festival. And if you want to know more about quantum mechanics, see if you can squeeze into Brian Greene's program on quantum mechanics down at NYU. That's tomorrow night. It'll be the sweeping history of this fascinating anxiety called quantum mechanics in a way that only Brian can tell. For me, John Huckleberry, thanks so much. You've been a great host. Hottest ticket in town tonight.
Thank you. Please share again.